And I really do believe that now we've gone from not having evidence to really having evidence. And now it's a matter of trusting that evidence, trusting the fact that we just took a 97-yard drive when we had to have it down 2 scores and punched it in the end zone on the road versus a Big Ten team. Trust the evidence that, we got some big stops on defense when we needed to. We got turnovers. So there's plenty of evidence that shows what we can be. And now it's our job as coaches and our job as players to then figure out the mechanism here in the next week of how do we get that, not just 60 plays in a game, but 80 plays in a game. Because, as you saw defensively, the big play obviously really hurt us. And it wasn't for, again, you can handle when you play a Big Ten team. If a guy just makes a great play on you, tip your cap to him and take a deep breath and go want to know the next play. But unfortunately, some of our big plays were given up because of missed assignments. And so we've got to do a better job, in those moments of making sure that our guys are assignment sound. But I also reminded the team, too, that this team in FBS history, at least, I know this program has 2 conference championships, and both of them started with 3 losses to open the season. So we know we've had a really, really difficult schedule. I think we wore down a little bit there towards the end, especially defensively. But that happens when you play, back-to-back Power 5 teams on the road. You're going to get worn down a little bit, and obviously our depth kind of showed there towards the end. And then, but we've got a lot to build on, and we know that although the American Conference certainly is not easy by any stretch of the imagination, but I think there's a lot of guys in there that understand that this was a very winnable game, that we let ourselves beat ourselves, but a lot less this week than in previous weeks. So I think guys can feel and see that improvement, and I know we're going to be better for having played these last 2 games when we do hit conference, because of the speed and physicality of what we've just gone through in the last 2 weeks.
Daniel making the start today, obviously. Did he do the things you guys as the coaching staff asked him to do?
Oh, absolutely. I told him before the game, protect the football, manage the game, and be you. And I think he did all 3 of those. There's some throws and some reads I'm sure he'd like to have back. That's a tough outfit to block, too. Very unique defensive scheme that, forces you a lot of times to be one-on-one up front with your O-line versus their D-line. And they've got a potential first-rounder plus some 4-star guys up there that'll have a chance to play in the NFL. So I thought the original question was, did Daniel do the things he needed to do? He did, as far as I could tell. Now I'll watch the film and grade him hard, but for his first start for us in this kind of environment, in this kind of game, I thought he managed it really, really well.
You mentioned the big plays on defense, but did have 4 sacks, and I thought plays were run extremely well first half. So those were good signs.
Yeah, we fit it well, and that's the thing. I think that we talked about the belief without evidence being faith. Now there's a lot of evidence from the good plays against Clemson, the good plays against Illinois, and so now it's just a matter of doing it over and over and over and over and over again. And so we misfit a couple of runs, and when you misfit runs, when you're not in the right gap, those turn into explosives in a hurry, and they certainly did there. And like you said, in the first half, I think their rushing yards were really, really low for a half, but then, we wore down, in my opinion, just watching it from the sideline, wore down a little bit defensively.
6-point game, but you had opportunities in the red zone fourth quarter.
Yeah, and again, we had an illegal formation that took, what would have been very close to being points on the board, if not points on the board, and I believe we didn't convert on that drive. So, we gave ourselves a chance both with turnovers and field position, and we've got to do a better job, obviously, in the red zone. And then third down, we were still just 33%. We've got to ratchet that number up. But it was better in the second half, which was encouraging to see. Anybody online?
Hey, coach. So, the defense, 8 tackles for a loss of yardage, 4 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries. What are your thoughts on how they played against Illinois throughout the entire course of the game?
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's so hard to judge because those plays count. Those explosive plays count and they matter. And I used to work with defensive coaches. It was like, well, we played 78 snaps and on 72 of them, we held them to 160 yards. Well, what about the other 6 that went for 50 yards a pop? Those counted too, and so, yes, was there encouraging signs defensively in terms of the ability to fit gaps and tackle guys? Absolutely. But it goes to show you that has to be second nature. I mean, there's no room for error when you're fitting the run game. And, if you get 2 guys in a gap because some guy's wrong, then you're going to have holes.
Coach, how did you feel about Daniel Richardson, how he played? He went through 28 completions, 256 yards, and 2 touchdowns and an interception. How did you feel about his performance against Illinois? And his
the interception was on 4th down in the red zone. He knew the ball had to come out, and he was scrambling around. So don't blame him. We don't, certainly. I mean, that was no fault of his. That was good coverage on a 4th down play. Long story short, I thought he played really, really well, for his first start in this environment. Basically have no turnovers, manage the game through 2 touchdown passes. I think that's a pretty good day, especially against this defense.
And
also, guys will be heading into a bye week before your first conference play against Tulsa. How would you be using your experience? How would you be using your bye week from your experiences playing against Clemson and Illinois, 2 tough road opponents? Are you going to use what you learned from those 2 games heading into a game against Tulsa during your bye week?
Yeah, I think the learning is not necessarily what to do. It's the learning is going to be the next 2 weeks, really dissecting some of the missed assignments or misfits on defense, and then obviously we had some offensively too, and just figure out why. I mean, these are plays that you walk through, that you practice, obviously, and figure out why on Saturdays are we having obviously, as the year has gone on, significantly less of those, but as you can tell today, when they do happen, they're usually big plays. So, I do think, though, that having gone through this stretch, I don't know of a non-autonomous 5 team that has played back-to-back road Power 5 teams, and so in the country other than us. So we're definitely going to learn from it, and I think, although we feel like we could have won this game had we done a few things better and different, we also know that the speed of the game these last 2 weeks is something that we just cannot simulate, and that it'll pay dividends, moving forward in conference. But we got to get healthy too. We are a banged up outfit. You go back to back. I mean, the SEC has it right in terms of their scheduling. They, at least one study I saw as of a few years ago, they don't have a team in their conference, or didn't at the time, that went more than 4 games in a row of playing Power 5 opponents. And so when you do that at our level back to back, you're going to get banged up a little bit. And so we're going to go get healed up, but also improve on some of the real bright spots that we saw this afternoon. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Coach.